Hello friends, so we're talking about weaving this week. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our own picnic weaving. So we're going to make a weaving for our background and then add a picnic here on top. So for this project we want a few things. We want a piece of white paper and a piece of colored paper. This is going to be for our weaving. I have a piece of brown paper for my plate. But you could just draw a plate using white paper. So this is going to be for my weaving. This is going to be for my picnic stuff on top. You want a ruler, some scissors, pencil eraser, some glue, and then you want some stuff to color in with. I have markers and colored pencils today. I think that's what works best, but you can use whatever you have. So I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way because our first step is starting our weaving for our background. So what we want to do for this is we're going to cut one of these into strips and we're going to make one of these into our loom. And a loom is something you weave onto. So I'm going to use my ruler, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up with the top of my paper, the top being the shorter side. And I'm going to draw a straight line, just like that. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to go the other way and I'm going to line it up so I can draw my lines for my weaving. So I make for sure it's all lined up nice and even. And if you see, I'm not going to draw in this top section, and I'm also not going to cut up there, so I can keep my weaving together, so it doesn't have to be a bunch of pieces. So now I have these, and what I'm going to do with this paper is I'm going to make some straight lines but going the other way, and I'm going to cut these apart so I can have them as strips for my weaving. So I just make for sure my ruler's touching that line, and then I draw a straight line down. And I go through and do that for each of them. Once I get these lines drawn, I can start cutting it, and that will be the next step. And I like to hold my ruler down with one hand just to make for sure it doesn't move around, and then I use my other hand to draw my straight lines. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut my loom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on these straight lines, and then I'm going to stop once I hit the top area. And then once I hit that top area, I stop. I'm going to take my other paper and do the same thing, and I'm going to cut these apart. So I'm going to keep cutting up my strips and get my loom all prepped and ready, cutting the rest of these lines, and then we'll move on to our next step. Okay, so I have this all ready to go. What we're going to need is our glue open and ready because we're going to glue as we go. We're going to glue just on the ends, you'll see. And we're going to start our weavings. And with weavings, you follow an under-over pattern. So you go under and then over. Under and then over, and then you want to scoot it as far up as you can get it. I like to glue as I go, so once I have it in the right spot, I'm going to grab my glue and add just a dot, because a dot is a lot, and I'm going to glue this down, making for sure it's as pushed up as it can go. So now I want to continue this weaving, but if you see for this one I started under, so for my next one, I'm actually going to start over. So you want it to look like a checkerboard. If it doesn't have that checkerboard pattern, then you need to readjust, because it could have been that you just started under when you were supposed to start over, or over when you were supposed to start under. So I'm going to show you with two more strips. So I know that I started over for this one, so I want to start under. And then I'm going to keep that same pattern going of going over and then under, over and then under. And then I push it up the most I can. Try to make for sure it's nice and in the center. And then I take my glue and I glue both ends. So I'll flip it up, add a dot of glue, squish, and then add some glue and squish on the other side. I like to glue as I go because they can fall out if you're not gluing. So if I look at this one, I know that I started under, so I want to start over. And then I'm just going over and under. So it's the same pattern again and again. What's important is how you start your weaving, whether you're going over or whether you're going under. So I am going to finish up my weaving, and I'm going to show you how we finish it off at the bottom, because that is a special one. Alright, so I'm on the last little bit of my weaving, and I'm going to go through like normal. But what I'm going to do is to make for sure this is all stuck together, instead of just gluing on the ends, I'm going to glue every flap down. So I'm going to take every flap on the front and the back and add a dot of glue. Like that. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. You could trim off this extra little bit on the end if you wanted to trim it off like that, but I kind of like having the little bit of blue because I have a little bit of white on this other side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set this aside to let this dry, and we are going to grab either your brown paper or maybe you have a piece of gray paper, and I'm going to draw a circle, and this is going to be my plate. So if you have a circle to trace, you could definitely do that, or you could even make your plate a different shape if you did not want it to be a circle. I've had students make their plates into squares. I've had students make their plate into triangles and hearts. I'm going to keep my plate round just because that's how I like it. So I like to start out with my outer ring of my plate, and I like to make it a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to trace the same shape on the inside and make it a little bit thinner, which sounds confusing, but it's really just drawing this circle again. I need to go get this sharpened, and then I will be right back. Right, so all I'm doing is I'm just drawing the same shape on the inside, just going around slowly. And now I have my plate. I am going to cut this out and set it aside, and I'm going to grab my other white paper and draw out the details or the different foods I could have on here. So I cut that out. It's right here. I do not need the rest of this brown paper. And now I'm going to grab this paper, and what you want to do is you want to make a drink, and then you want 3 things at least at your picnic. So what I'm going to show you is how to draw a drink, and then how to draw a sandwich. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to decide what color I want my cup to be, and I think I'm going to make it bright pink. And what you want to do for your cup is I start out with a flat oval at the top, just like that. And then I draw 2 lines coming down on the side, and then a rounded line at the bottom. You can think about what different things you might want in here. I think I'm going to make this pink lemonade. So I'm going to grab my pink marker, and at the top draw a little wavy line. I want to add in some lemons, and so to do that, I'm going to draw some half circles throughout here, like that. Maybe one more down here. I can then grab another color marker, and I can add in some ice cubes if I want, and to do that, I draw some squares, but I make the edges round. And then I like to go back in and just trace the shape in the corner, just to give it kind of that shiny sort of ice look. And now you can color it in however you would like. So I'm going to grab some stuff to add some details, and I'm going to get this colored in, and then we'll move on to a sandwich, and then I can show you how to make either some chips or maybe some chocolate covered cherries. Alright, so I have my first drink done. Now I'm going to show you how to draw a sandwich, and that can count as one of the 3 items that you have. So you'll have your drink, your sandwich, and then 2 other things, and whatever you want to do for those are kind of up to you. So what I do for my sandwich is first, I'm going to do it over here in this corner. First I start out with the bottom of a square, just like this. And then what I'm going to do for the top here is I'm actually going to draw a 3 sideways. Like that. And that is the top of my bread. And now that I have this done, I can color in the center part a lighter color, like this cream color. And I can add some different details for my sandwich coming out of the sides. Maybe over here I could draw 2 flat squares, like there's some cheese coming out. Maybe over here I'll add in some green, so there's some lettuce hanging out. Maybe over here in this corner I can draw 2 circles like this, and then add on the details, so now there's some tomatoes hanging out. And maybe over here I'll use kind of that cream color again. And I'll have some like lunch meat hanging out. So I like to have some details hanging out of the sandwich just so you know what's happening on the inside of the sandwich. I'm going to work on getting this all colored in, and then we will move on to our last 2 little details. Alright, so I have my sandwich and I have my drink. I think I'm going to make some chocolate covered strawberries. I think that would be fun to have. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to draw the top of my strawberries. And to do that, I just draw a zigzag little green shape. So the tops of those strawberries are green. I think I'm going to have 4. So maybe one more right here. One more right there. And now I'm going to add 2 round lines for the top of my strawberry. And then using the brown, I'm going to draw the bottom of my strawberry and also a wavy line. Like that. Then I can go back and use my red marker just to add in some dots. Now I'm going to get these colored in, but before I do that, I'm going to show you how I like to draw my potato chips. They're a pretty simple shape. What I like to do is I just kind of draw some wibbly wobbly circles, and then I like to just add a little edge to them. So I'll trace it just on one side. I want a few potato chips. Big potato chip. Thankfully, potato chips kind of come in all different shapes and sizes. And then you can think about what flavor you might want your potato chips to be. I like sour cream and onion, so I'm adding on some green little specks because they always have green little specks on them. So I'm going to get these colored in and cut out so we can put our project together.